So what I'm going to do is say a few words, and I'm going to have several of these fine attorneys behind me say a few words. But the top line here is that...
knock it off.
The top line here is that Mr. Woodward has already filed the appeal in this case.
They're sending him to jail. He's going to prison. That was Peter Navarro, Trump's former advisor, and he has been sentenced to 4 months behind bars for refusing to cooperate with the congressional investigation into January 6th. I gotta say, I didn't expect him to actually be sentenced to any time behind bars, but he refused to cooperate, he was subpoenaed, and apparently there are consequences to that. As you can see, he had a bit of a hard time addressing his situation today, thanks to all the protesters surrounding him, and it's not the first time that's happened. These press conferences he tries to hold usually end up that way, and it's pretty funny. Now, what he was convicted for, let's get to that. Navarro was convicted back in September on 2 counts of contempt of Congress, one for failing to produce documents related to the probe and another for skipping his deposition. He was also fined $9,500 for doing so. And for his defense, Navarro had insisted that Donald Trump invoked executive privilege to prevent him from needing to comply with the committee. Turns out that was not the case. The US District Judge Amit Mehta basically barred Navarro's defense attorneys from using that argument because the argument had no merit. Now, Mehta concluded that Navarro had not carried his burden in proving that Trump had formally asserted a privilege or a testimonial immunity that would have allowed his former aide to not even appear to answer the committee's questions. You can't just ignore subpoenas and then after the fact, after you have been charged with contempt of Congress, claim that you're protected by executive privilege. Immediately after Navarro was sentenced, his attorney filed an appeal. Mehta also, that's the judge, requested additional briefing on whether Navarro should be allowed to exhaust his appeals before serving his sentence. And last we checked, Trump had not yet commented on the sentence that Navarro is now having to deal with. So Cenk, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I love that justice is headed towards Navarro.
Justice is here. It's not just coming.
Well, yeah, I hear you on that, tyt.com/justice. But it's not quite here yet because there's appeals. So Steve Bannon also got sentenced to 4 months in prison, but he's appealing his case, so that's why he's out still doing his stupid show where he's telling everybody, oh, if Trump wins, we're gonna fire everybody in the government, we're gonna bring in shock troops, and basically doing a giant, ad for fascism. So these guys think that they're above the law, and in some ways they are, because Steve Bannon did this scam where he ripped off his own viewers to pretend to build a wall on the border, and then instead spent it on yachts, etc.
He just pocketed the money.
Yeah, and his co-conspirators were imprisoned, convicted and imprisoned, but Donald Trump gave him a pardon. So they're a bunch of criminal thugs, and they act together like this. I hope that they hurry through this process so that at least spend some time in prison. They should spend a lot more. Navarro should have been charged with insurrection. Navarro wrote a whole book about the fake elector plot where he was bragging about it. He's like, oh, then we had this great idea. Mike Pence was supposed to delay the proceedings. Then we had the riot, and then we were going to bring in the fake electors. And then in his book, he doesn't call them fake, but we have the memorandum saying that they are in fact fake electors. And then we were going to have the legislatures basically pretend that Trump had won when we know he didn't, etc. So I think convicting him on insurrection would be the easiest thing there is. You just admit Exhibit A, his own book. So this is the least of it. This is just for not testifying. They should get him on the actual substance of the crimes committed. And now his defense in this particular case is absurd. He says, well, I have executive privilege. Do you? Because Trump never asserted executive privilege here.
Oh my God.
So like, Trump at a bare minimum has to just say, yeah, sure, I would have given executive privilege to Navarro. Now that doesn't settle the case, but it is that the outer bounds of where executive privilege goes has not been determined yet by the Supreme Court. That's why it's considered an open question to some degree. And so that'll be very interesting to adjudicate. And I don't know if this case and the Bannon case will get to the Supreme Court. In a sense, I hope it does. But remember, whatever rules apply to Trump also apply to Biden and other Democratic presidents as well. But the bottom line is, for Navarro, he has no leg to stand on because Trump never said that he was using executive privilege here. So he had no reason not to testify. He just thought, I'm one of the elites. I don't have to listen to the authorities. Come to find out, he does.
So the only thing that I'll say to wrap this up is I just find it so amazing to watch all of these individuals who were part of the Trump administration, who were very friendly and close to Trump during his term, one by one suffering the consequences of associating themselves with Trump and carrying out whatever deeds Trump wanted them to carry out. And so if you didn't show your unwavering loyalty to Trump, he would completely destroy you among his supporters. I mean, just think about how Mike Pence is now treated. His political career for the most part is over. But if you do carry out the wishes of Donald Trump, chances are you're gonna eventually face some consequences for them, especially if he's asking you to do things that are unconstitutional or illegal. So I just think about all the different players who orbited Donald Trump throughout the years, including his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen. All these people end up in prison, or they end up getting completely crushed and trashed by Trump publicly, and then they deal with harassment from some MAGA supporters. Then I think about Tim Scott and how he's trying to ingratiate himself to Trump just so he can get that VP pick. I don't understand why anyone would want that job. I don't understand it because it seems pretty awful to me and it seems ill-fated.
Oh, I know why, because they're in politics, they're almost all Gollums. Precious power, precious.
But do you really
For
have
what?
power serving Trump? Because that's what it is. It's just serving Trump and what his wishes are. That's not power.
Of course not. So it's you, and you're right. I should clarify. It's seeming power. What they're actually, and they know that they don't have any power. Power extends only to how much they can agree with Trump. The minute they disagree with Trump, they realize they have no power at all.
100%,
right?
Yep.
So what they're actually seeking is ego and status. I am the vice president of the United States. I'm so important. I'm such an important person. And guys, in our world, we think, what a loser Tim Scott is. What a pathetic loser all like Navarro and all these bootlickers are, right? But remember, in Washington, they don't view it that way at all. Like, if you're the vice president, it doesn't matter if you're a moron, you're the most evil guy in the world, they will all fall at your feet and be like, oh, the vice president is here, the most important person in the world. You don't understand how grovelingly pathetic all of Washington is. So like the senators that we think are a joke, they're treated as royalty in Washington. People kissing their ass 24/7 and like almost praying to them. So that's why the Tim Scotts of the world humiliate themselves going in that direction. But last things about this case. Look, whenever I see Trump, I think, how can anyone not see that this guy is the biggest narcissist bully you've ever seen in your life? But it takes a special kind of guy like the Navarros of the world to just look at a bully like that and think, that's my hero. I wish I could go to prison to defend that bully who picks on the weak. Oh, I love that guy. Really the most pathetic of all people. Finally, the fine is $9,500 to go along with the 4 months. The $9,500 doesn't seem like much, but don't worry about that. Because the actual fine is that they have to defend themselves and pay lawyers to do that, which is gonna set them back
100%.
hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't imagine they could do district court, circuit court, and Supreme Court under $500,000. So at least Navarro and Bannon have to pay that as well. Well, Bannon will probably take it out of the suckers who gave him the money for the wall. Where's the wall, guys? Where's the wall?
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.